morning.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Lucy.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good.
It's kind of fun to see all the people pop on.
What's interesting is that that's what's become of kind of fun.
Yeah.
See our two past presidents.
Three in a row up there.
That's
Chip
right.
is going incognito. See that? He, looks like the witness that doesn't want to be identified.
We've got at least 8 past presidents on here.
We tried to impeach Buster, but it didn't go through.
You guys can impeach me at any time.
Buster
Please.
was the only Rotary president that tried to get impeached twice.
I can't help it if I tried to storm Starmount with a group of insurrectionists when the next guy wanted to come in.
Well, you wanted 2 terms, and you're only supposed to do it for a year, Buster.
I know it was the fake media. They're the ones that built
Fake news.
Yeah,
you were the one that wrote the newsletter.
That's right. That's right. That's how I knew it was fake.
News.
Buster was controlling all the media.
That's how I knew it was fake.
I won't go into the time you did the April Fool's joke in the newsletter that we were going to sell cookies as a fundraiser.
Oh my gosh, that upset Tom Sears so much. I had some pretty
Where's
good.
Tom? Does anybody ever talk to Tom?
Yeah, he used to live around the corner from me on Dover, but since he's moved out to River Landing, I just don't see him.
I know. I wish he would zoom in for us so we could see him.
Yeah, if I do say so myself, I had some pretty funny April Fool's tricks.
Some pretty original stuff there. Master.
That all the Rotary clubs were going to combine into one big Rotary club. That Rotary International was going to move their headquarters to Greensboro. But the cookie one, David Graves helped me on that one. He actually drew a little picture of a cookie in the shape of the Rotary wheel that said Rotary International, and said that they weren't sure if they were going to make us wear uniforms. Oh, it was.
I just remember your Oliver's Twist columns always had a little something in them too.
Good old Oliver, yeah. The precursor to Grandpappy Lewis.
I was going to say, yeah.
You need to find the old cookie one and send us a picture of it. That's funny.
I wonder if I have that somewhere. Yeah.
I have a question for everybody. Didn't we have a snow policy for these meetings? If something about like Guilford County's school.
Yeah.
Well, on my way to work, my wife goes, "Do you know they canceled school today, in-person school?" I was like, "Really?
Really?
Wow."
We're not canceling the meeting.
Oh.
It will be interesting to see what happens to snow days with now that technology is what it is.
But what a treasured treat for young kids to wake up and find snow and
Yes.
to go turn on the radio to say, hey, do we have school today?
They want to go to school. My 10-year-old daughter is like despondent that she doesn't get to go to school. So we're like, we don't have any choice in this. That's what they said.
Been through, yeah.
We'll give it a couple more minutes. Let the 7:05 crowd roll in here.
I do. Thank you.
Robbie, you're not near as late now that we're on Zoom.
It's all relative.
I kind of missed that.
Just doing my part to let people know when the meeting starts.
Yeah, that's right. I need a new cue.
Well, I failed to send a reminder yesterday like I normally do, so we'll see how this works with the club.
Yeah, it's 7:05, so we'll get started, guys. Tony Humeyer has our invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and four-way test. So, Tony, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my honor to do this. Start with an invocation. Let us be thankful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray or wish for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of
America,
the United States of America,
Republic for which
to the republic for which
nation under God,
one nation under God,
liberty,
indivisible,
justice for
with
all.
liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
The four-way test of the things
Thanks.
we think, say, and do. Is it the
Is it the
truth?
truth?
Is
Is
it
it
fair
fair
Fair to all
to
concerned,
Will
Build
no goodwill and better.
better friendships,
Will be
will be
Will be
beneficial.
beneficial to
all
all.
concerned.
Thank you, Tony. Now I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone here just so we can proceed through this. If you need to unmute, remember before you start talking. So quick announcement for the club. The board is meeting in the second Tuesday of next month, but the tentative plan right now is to go back to live meetings March 1st. I've been tracking the number of positive cases, and we're actually on a decline from a high of over 300,000 to pre-Thanksgiving numbers nationally. So it's the number of cases, new cases, is coming down. Also, the combination of the vaccine being close to exceeding the number of positive cases, at least the first dose. We're planning to go back to the painted plate on March 1st. That is our only viable option at this time. The O. Henry has extended the amount of time that they're planning to stay closed, I think, through the summer. So I'm just keeping everybody abreast of what I know so far. So the painted plate seems to be our best option and probably will be our option through the end of at least this Rotary year. And our first week in March will be our next live meeting or hybrid meeting. I see Rick is on here. Did I see Rick? Yeah, Rick, do you have birthdays and anniversaries? You may have to unmute, Rick.
I think Rick sent a note saying that
maybe Matthew has birthdays or has club anniversaries.
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and skip our birthdays and anniversaries this week. Mike Conrad sent me a note this week. He had an announcement about our Polio Plus drive. Looks like we're doing pretty good, Mike. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. As Gate City Rotarians always do, we're coming through for polio this year, even though we've not been having our in-person meetings. I'm happy to say that at this point, we're over $5,000, $5,389, with a $500 contribution from one of our charter members. And that does not include the additional amount that I know we're going to get from Guy. So here again, and let me just say that compared to last year, we were at $56.91. So we're only $300 away from a little over 300 to beating that goal, which I kind of think we can do. So I'm going to leave it to you, Guy, to do the challenge.
Yeah, why don't we see if we can get to 6,000, and that'll put me on the hook for $600. So, I mean, if anybody is feeling the desire to give a little bit more, we're very close to that 6K mark. It wouldn't be great if
I'll pony up 100 more.
I'm throwing in 100, Chip Person. Good for 100.
Steve, you writing this down?
Got it.
Okay, that's excellent. So
I'll do 100, and that'll get us to the thing.
There you go.
All right. Good job.
And Mike, once you have it all, let me know the difference, and I will contribute at least $1 over 6,000 or 10% of what everybody else gave.
We got it. Well, I'll keep the numbers for you. Don't worry. You won't. I'll get you before it's over.
That's quite an accomplishment, guys, in a year like this. The good news is nobody's spending money on travel, so you have plenty to give to Rotary. I don't see that Gigi is on for our next announcement. As of now, they're still planning the district conference at the Grove Park Inn in Asheville. The dates are April 16th through the 18th. Walt, I would assume you're going to attend to get your district achievement award from last year. Hopefully yeah, good job, buddy. Hopefully we get a double up this year, but we'll see. So we'll move on to our next announcement. Is Judy on? There you are, Judy.
Good morning, all. So youth services, we still have not received one application yet for the scholarship, which is I'm just astonished. So I'll reach out once again for my weekly reach out to the principal letting them know it's wide open. Territory's wide open for $40,000 college scholarship. So anyway, and then also I was going to talk about, my mind's gone blank.
Four-way test.
Four-way test. I apologize. Yeah, so we have all that lined up, and actually Marion Dewey's going to do it. And I'm so proud of her also because not only will she do the four-way test over at GTCC, she's also has her interview that morning for the Moorhead Scholarship to Chapel Hill. So she's got a full day ahead of her. So prayers her way. And yeah, that's pretty much it for youth services.
Yeah, so that's the four-way test contest. I think the prize is $1,000. So it's a pretty competitive event. Marion was supposed to be our youth exchange student. That the whole thing was canceled due to the pandemic. So she has agreed to do it again, and she's quite a kid. So hopefully we get to see her. Hopefully she's successful and we get to see her. Maybe we can get her to come to the club.
She'd love that. Thanks.
Judy,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I've been considering going back to school, dentistry school, actually in preparation for my presidency. And I'm wondering if I might be able in some way to take advantage of that scholarship.
Well, unfortunately, it's not open to anyone related to Rotary. I apologize for that, Steve.
God, I'd give my eye teeth for it. But
Judy, I'll follow up. I shared that with the director of the Boys and Girls Club.
Uh-huh.
Great teenagers over there in that program.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really excited about it. So I'll follow up with them as
Yeah,
well.
just remind them that the 4 schools that we have open for it are Dudley, Grimsley, Smith, and Page.
Okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
Would it, guys, would it be appropriate to, for Rotary members to send out a request for this to people that they know that go to those schools?
Well, I sent an email with a attachment to it. So if you need for me to resend that to you, I'd be happy to. Just reach out and we would love for you to be able to do that. That'd be great.
I think it'd be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Judy, if you would send that, that'd be great. I think it's time for us to start passing it on.
Okay, you want me to, Steve, can you help me with that? We'll read, Steve Scott, can we resend that email out that had the attachment to it? You can send it out to everybody? Or it's,
Can you send it to me?
be happy
again,
to.
please?
Yeah, I'll resend it to you. I'll have you resend it. And so what we'll do, guys, we'll go ahead and change out the subject line to as requested, application for scholarship. So when it comes in y'all's inbox, you'll know what it's all about. How's that?
Thank you, Judy. I'm
But
very
Judy, a
confident.
question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes.
I think the original email, if I remember correctly, had a deadline for the application of February 15.
That is
And
correct.
of course, it's going to be very tight because I read it also so that you have to have like 3 recommendation letters and things like that. And that will take a while, I'm sure, if we find a
Yes.
student. So are we changing that deadline?
Well,
No.
I don't think so because I mean, we've been working on
It's
this since before Christmas, right?
It's
Guys?
a soft deadline, Tony. But you know, if you tell a high school student something's due on February 15th, they're
We're gonna
not
get-
going to turn it in on the 13th. You
Yeah.
go ask any teacher of a kid who turns in a paper early and they'll say, no, it doesn't happen. So the fact that we've received no applications is not surprising. It's just, you know, who knows? You would hope one of them would be like, hey, I'm going to be proactive and get this thing early. And it would give them some bonus points, but it's not going to happen. They're
No.
high school kids. They're going to
No,
turn it
again,
in.
two sides. That I understand, but I was more concerned about getting recommendation letters organized, and those people may take their own time.
Well, we've got just north of 2 weeks. And if we get a great applicant on the 16th, it's going to take a little while to get through these things. If we push the application back, these kids have all kinds of financial plans they have to work out. And then we've got to filter through all of them and award it correctly, right? So if we push it back, we start getting close to deadlines, and I think we should stick with it and just see what we get. If we don't get enough, we don't do it, or we push the deadline back.
And Guy, isn't it like March 5th that we're supposed to meet again in order to read all the applications and stuff and choose 3 people? Or is that the first interview? I'll have to go back and read it, but
Yeah, we have a selection guideline that we've written out for our group, and Dan's on it, Mike Conrad's on it, Chris Justice, Chip Person. So we've got a good group of people. I think if we push it back, it just makes it too tedious. So we'll see what happens. This is our first year doing it. Once we work out the kinks, it should get much easier.
thanks, Tony, for the
Okay,
suggestion.
thank you.
Okay.
And in light of that, also, I don't know if I announced this last week, but our fund to fund this is right close to $300,000 now. So we're well over our target goal. So, and we have the funds this year to fund it without touching the fund. So if we keep working at this, at some point we may be able to make it a regular thing or a yearly thing where we go 4 at a time. All right, let me move on before we run out of time here. Tom, do you have any announcements about our fundraiser, Tom Richardson?
Well, you should have got an email I sent out last night. We're going to try to meet with committee next week. Lisa's been kind enough to offer to do it at her house, or if we have a big group, we could move to, another place. We're moving on. We're hoping Star Mountain will be open, and so we're going to keep planning, and we'll deal with it if things change. So hopefully everybody will support it, and we'll get started on it.
Coincidentally, I was lucky enough to speak to the director of the COVID hospital yesterday, and he mentioned, I don't know if anybody saw it on the news, but they're trying to put out a white paper on monoclonal antibodies, and that is a treatment option. His data, and now remember, this is the pulmonologist that directs the COVID hospital. His data suggests they can reduce hospitalization by 75% with this treatment modality. So that to me seems like a fairly viable cure. Who knows if it'll take off or what. So between the vaccine and the cure, hopefully by May, we're able to all congregate again. Thank you, Tom. Matthew Foster's not here. He did ask me to announce the stream cleanup is February 6th. I don't know how many people he has signed up yet. It should be a good day to get outdoors with some fellowship. It's going to be kind of cold, I would assume. He's going to send out a reminder Monday, and it's at a park south of town. So he has it all planned out. It should be a good event to pick up garbage and help make our community a cleaner, nicer place. I also don't see Charlotte. Our Sunset Club is planning another service project in March. It's a meal packing at Out of the Garden. I think all of y'all have heard that, but if you want to sign up or if you want to go, I don't think she has a sign up. They said there's plenty of room. Bring it if you want to come. The other unofficial service project would be Chip Persons. Chip, you want to make an announcement on that?
Let me get unmuted. Yes, good morning, everybody. I want to thank, first off, I'm talking about Enduring Gratitude, which is February 13th. EnduringGratitude.org is the website to volunteer, sign up, or donate. And I want to say that quite a few members of the club have actually donated outside the club. I do need to get with our treasurer and get a check from the club for the past president's donation. But we're going to take about 150 to 160 veterans out. We have custom made masks. Everybody will have masks. To a certain extent, it's all outside, and we will try and social distance as best as possible. And certainly you can social distance yourself if you wish to volunteer and or attend. But it's going to be a great event. We're going to do sporting clay shooting and live pheasant shooting. We're going to throw 500 pheasants, usually shoot about 40% of those. The rest of the pheasants go free. So for those that hate to hear about pheasants getting shot, they go home in insulated bags and usually get cooked up. I can't say everybody cooks them, but I don't think they eat them raw. So anyway, I want to thank all the people involved, and we do need a few more volunteers. We can always use more money. We got 6 guys raising a little over $60,000, 20,000 shotgun shells at the sporting clay range alone, and another 5 to 10,000 out at the pheasants. That's just one of the expenses: coffee cups, donuts. Anyway, I appreciate all the help, and we'll take any other help we can get. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Chip. I did just get a text from somebody saying they're not 100% sure on the Out of the Garden meal packing event. So that is still a month and a half away. I'm sure we'll have more information as we get closer. So that is our club announcements. Buster, you want to kick off our Happy Dollars? Buster, you still with us? You're muted.
I thought I unmuted, but anyway, Happy Dollars. All right, the silent crowd here.
I have one to share.
I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
So I have a brokerage account I created for my son to teach him about finance and savings. And I looked at it the other day, and I'd bought some obscure stock that makes personnel carrier drones. Think about getting in those little things that they fly little cameras around, but they put people in them, and it's in China. And I looked at it the other day, and it had gone up in 3 months. It had gone up 900%. So I showed my son that, and he got super excited. Now he's reading all these finance books, and he's not a finance major in college. He's studying biology, but I figured it's good education. And I only put $500 in it, but it got him really excited about learning about something different besides video games. So it was a pretty happy moment.
That's exciting.
I have a happy dollar.
All right, Dale, what you got?
After being part of the 10,000 that had to get canceled by Cone Health with no vaccine, I have a 10 o'clock appointment over in Winston-Salem with the health department for my first shot this morning. So
Good
yes.
job. Yeah, very congratulations. Who's gotten a shot yet? Anybody? All right. Well, Grandpappy was complaining. He said, you know, it's just no daggone wonder that health insurance is so expensive. He said, went to the doctor the other day, walked up to the receptionist, and she said, so what have you got? And he said, shingles. She said, all right, take this form and fill it out and go sit in the waiting room. He said, you know, 30 minutes later, the nurse comes out and she says, so what have you got? And he said, well, I got shingles. And she said, all right, go in this room and we're going to take blood and we're going to do an EKG and we're going to go through this whole process. And so he goes in and does it. And she said, now go take off all your clothes, go in this office, the doctor's office, and take off all your clothes. And doctor will be in a little bit. A little bit later, the doctor comes in and he's sitting there with no clothes on the table. And the doctor said, so what have you got? And he said, shingles. And the doctor said, well, where? And he said, well, in my truck. He said, I just need to know where to unload them.
Thank you, Buster.
Yes.
Anytime the words "take off all your clothes" enters a joke you're saying, I get a little nervous. But that was a good one. Thank you, buddy. So,
That's the sound of one hand clapping.
Lisa, you want to go ahead and introduce our speaker?
Sure, but before I do, I have just a brief announcement. Since Charlotte's not here, the Satellite Club, who is now named the Sunset Club, meets typically every other Monday evening. And I believe they meet this coming Monday at 5:30 at Cafe Pasta. And I think they have an induction.
That's right. We'll be swearing in some new members.
So if anyone wants to attend that, that would be great.
Thank you, Lisa. Sorry, I forgot that one.
Yeah, I'm pleased to welcome Lucy Wellmaker, a friend and also life coach. She's a published author of the book Inspired by the Wow Moments of Life. You may have remembered, I believe, during Ralph's year of president, Lucy spoke to our club. She's a board certified coach, has been practicing as a life coach for over 14 years. And she writes a weekly blog called My Weekly Wow and conducts laser life coaching through her talks and workshops. She has a master's degree in counseling from North Carolina at Greensboro. Go Spartans. She's a graduate of the Institute of Life Coach Training and has been inspired by or has been trained by Gallup and Strengths Finders. She is married with 2 children and lives in Greensboro. And I believe that I sent the link to her book. So if you don't have it, you may want to get it. And I've had the opportunity to participate in 2 of Lucy's vision board workshops. And it was a great experience. So I'm excited to have her back to our club to speak to us today. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all for having me. Yeah, so we are about a year into the new year. Thought this might be a good time to check in and see how those New Year's resolutions are coming along. I know there are some people who have resolved never to set another New Year's resolution. Some people set goals or intentions. There are people that come up with a word for the year. What I really enjoy about the new year is just that whole fresh start. You have a couple of New Year's rituals that I do where I take time to look back at the past, acknowledge accomplishments and good things that have happened, what the positive highlights were for the year, It's very easy sometimes to remember the not so good things. And I think that when we take the time to look at the good things, we're more ready to build the momentum for more good things. So the vision board session that Lisa alluded to is another one of the rituals that I do. I do an annual vision board session where we get people to pause and to look at their life and do a self-assessment. I use a tool, it's this wheel of life. It takes us our lives and divides it up into 8 areas so that we can kind of assess where we are. And it's truly a snapshot of where we are today. It includes our physical health, our emotional health, work, home, finances, spirituality, and whatever that means to the person, relationships, fun and excitement. And I'm always surprised, maybe not with this group, but I'm always surprised when people are surprised to see that on the wheel. It's like, oh, fun and excitement, that's supposed to be a part of my life. Something that gets neglected sometimes. But once we, get a clear picture of what's good that's happened in the past and where we are today, that's when we can look ahead, and that's where priorities come in. And priorities, these are things that we say are important to us. And when we ask ourselves or we ask one another, what is important to you? I think most of us can probably come up with a list of things that are really important to us. And yet, when we look at how we spend our time, we don't always spend most of our time on the things that are most important to us. Time is such a precious resource, and how we spend it matters, because once we spend it, it's gone. And when we have priorities, things that we say are really important to us, and we don't spend time or focus on those things, what happens is we are out of alignment, and we know what happens with cars when they're out of alignment. It doesn't work well. It can be very damaging. There's a disconnect within ourselves, and it's hard to truly be happy when we're not fulfilling our priorities and living our priorities. We might find ourselves being stressed or frustrated or angry or resentful, unfulfilled, because we are not allowing ourselves to meet our needs. And it usually is us that gets in our own way. So why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Couple things here. Sometimes it's just habits. Our habits are things that we do. We've been doing them a certain way. We keep doing it a certain way, even though they don't help us reach our goals or our resolutions or help us live our true priorities. We do them anyway because we're just comfortable with that. I was thinking back of a positive habit that I have, and I have negative ones also. But one thing that I've been doing for many, many years is when I get up in the morning, I get my coffee, and then I sit back down, and I have my quiet time. And that is just a habit that I've had for many years. But I do remember many years ago when that wasn't my habit, and I would wake up, and as soon as my feet hit the floor, I would go, and I would go and go and go. And it's very transformative for me. And I've heard others say that the way we start our day has a lot to do with how our day unfolds. This group here, 7 o'clock on a Thursday morning, I bet this is one of your better days of the week. I mean, it's such a positive, uplifting. I love the happy dollar thing. And so habits are truly important. And, they say all the time when you look to change a habit, it's about substituting it with something else. It's easier to add something than to try to let something go. Another reason why we might not be living our priorities is just a lack of awareness of what we are doing. I do a life coaching group on Wednesday mornings, and I was working with a participant, and she was in a pattern that she just didn't realize. She was a list maker. She would love to make her list of things to do for the day and then check them off. And she was in this pattern of creating a list where she would underestimate the amount of time it would take to do a certain task, and she would overestimate what she thought she could get done in a day. And then to top it off, at the end of the day, she would focus on all the things she didn't get done. So that just led her into getting less done, because we always get more of what we focus on. So if we focus on what we didn't do, then we do less. So once she became aware of that, she was able to shorten her list and get more done and focus on her accomplishments. And that's how we start every session. What did you accomplish? What are your wins? Because then that just builds momentum for doing more things and getting more done. Another reason we might not live our priorities is because what we're currently doing might be paying off in some way. Even though it might not be paying off in the way we want things done in the long term, there's something that we're getting from what we're doing. We might say physical health is important, but maybe we're just not ready to give up those snacks during the football games or the ice cream with the movie or whatever. There's some kind of payoff. Another reason is that sometimes we're just confused about what really matters to us. And we might spend time and energy and resources chasing after or creating goals that really aren't important to us. They might be important to someone else. It may be we allowed somebody to tell us, what would be best for us. And so often we're making choices and setting goals that really are not based on our needs, but are on the needs of other people. While there's definitely a place for helping others and serving others and doing for others, if we don't first fill our own cup, if we don't first be true to ourselves and live our priorities, we can't really do for others in a way that's truly pleasing. We can't give what we don't have. And that's a concept that I learned when I was receiving coaching many years ago. And the coach, the way he described it was, he related it to money. And he talked about how, you can't spend money that you don't have. And some people might say, oh, yes, you can. You can spend money you don't have, sure. And you can do things for others when your own needs aren't met. But eventually it catches up with you. And eventually you may find yourself doing these things begrudgingly. You might resent doing them. Have some bitterness. I know I've talked with people in coaching sessions, a lot of grandparents, in fact, that are doing a lot for their grandchildren. And while they love their grandchildren and want to spend time, it may be more than they had signed up for. And their own needs and desires are put on the back burner. And I'm a big believer that we have to take care of ourselves. I mean, it's not about being selfish. It's about self-care. If we don't take care of ourselves, then who is left to do it? It's the people around us. And if we think about that, maybe that is a better definition of selfish, expecting other people to meet our needs, to make us happy. That truly is an inside job. So in order to live our priorities, we have to know what our priorities are, and they change over time. So it's important just to take a break sometimes and reflect and And maybe we can do that now for just a couple of minutes. If you have a piece of paper or pencil and you want to jot some answers down, think for a moment, what in your life is most important to you at this time? What in your life needs your attention? Where in your life do you need to spend more time? Where in your life do you need to spend less time? Again, what is most important to you now? Maybe you can list 1, 2, or 3 things. And when you look at your list or when you think about these things, how does it make you feel? Generally, when we think about the things that are important to us, it's exciting. We feel good about it. Did you put yourself on your list? Putting yourself at the top of your list is important. It's what will allow you to do more and serve others in a more fulfilling way. And life, I believe, has a way of nudging us towards our true priorities and guiding us on the path that will allow us to live our priorities. But we have to pay attention to our lives because it can be very subtle. We might get little nudges or whispers, impulses to do things, what I call wow moments, those moments when we are inspired by a certain idea or action. And what's really important to do is to follow through with that. Even if it really doesn't make sense or it seems too small, baby steps are huge because baby steps are what lead to bigger steps, and it's what builds momentum for taking that leap of faith when we need to do that. So once we know what our priorities are, it's really quite simple, even though it may not be easy. And so when we're faced with choices and decisions and how we want to spend our time, it's about saying yes to the things that align with our priorities and saying no to the things that don't. And I know a lot of people have a hard time saying no sometimes for several reasons. People tend to think that if they say no, the other person are going to see them as weak or incapable. Maybe we think that if we say no to somebody, they won't like us, or they'll never ask us to do that again, or we might be missing out on some great opportunity. Also, I want to remind you that no is a complete sentence. When we say no to others, it's not necessary to go into an in-depth explanation. Usually when we do that, that's more for ourselves to justify, and we don't really have to justify living our priorities and being true to ourselves. Another thing to think about when you're living your priorities is to separate the urgent things from the important things. A lot of times those urgent things that pop up at work or in our daily life are more about other people's goals than our own. And we can think about, can we delegate those urgent things? Are they really urgent? And living what's important to us, I really believe, and I've seen this firsthand, that when we do what's important to us, when we follow our hearts and do our true desires and take care of ourselves, everyone else around us benefits. They might not see it at first because it may be different than what they're used to, but in the long run, it really does work out. I know this group is big on taking action to create lasting change. I think if we keep doing the same thing, we keep getting the same results. So if things are going well in your life, keep doing what you're doing. If something resonated with you today that you feel inspired to take action on, I encourage you to do that. I believe that I was meant to be here today with this particular group of people, and that you were meant to hear or feel or think as a result of this short talk. So again, I encourage you to consider taking some type of action as a result of hearing this today. And I'd like to close by reading a lesson from my book that Lisa talked about. It's inspired by the wow moments of life. I did share this when I was there 2 years ago when I first published it. But this lesson is lesson 27. It's called Take Action. The load I was carrying got heavier and heavier. I could feel the weight on my shoulders. I knew it was time to get rid of some stuff. It was time for me to clean out my pocketbook. It would only take about 10 minutes, and yet I continued to put it off, lugging around the additional weight and clutter that caused me stress and frustration. I wasn't ready. Then I had a dream. I was in line to board a plane. I was fumbling through my pocketbook to find my ticket. I was becoming more and more anxious as I moved closer to the front of the line. Still unable to find my ticket to board. My pocketbook was a mess. I realized that I could miss my flight because I had refused to act on what I knew I needed to do. The next morning when I awoke, I cleaned out my pocketbook. And when I was done, I felt so light and so free, it almost felt like I could fly. Wow. Take action, take flight. And after each lesson, I offer 3 questions to ponder. And the questions here are, what is currently weighing you down in your life? What small action step have you been putting off? And how will things be for you once you take this step? You know, oftentimes when we think about resolutions or goals or things that we want to do, we really are looking for that feeling that we think will come with that. And in reality, it's about creating that feeling first, and then those things actually come to us. So I appreciate your time and attention. I'm open to questions if we have time for that.
I have a question.
Okay.
So you said when you were receiving life coaching, is there some type of school, or did you get it from another? Is this like from individual to individual teachings, or?
Right.
Curious.
So no, I did go to school for life coaching. I went to the Institute for Life Coach Training, is the school that I attended. But all good coaches have coaches. You know, so that was part of my process, was to receive life coaching as well.
And Lucy, I've got a question as well. Given these challenging times, Eloise has a friend down east where her mom lives who's getting on in years, and given this short-term dynamic, we hope it's getting shorter by the day. She said to Eloise one day, "I'm so sick of me." As a life coach, how are you working with folks in these times where people are more and more remote and isolated and not able to connect and not able to do the very activities that give them fulfillment, whether it's events, whether it's projects, whether it's the type of things that perhaps you've even focused on and prioritized to make part of your daily life that have just not been there for the last 10 months. How, as a life coach, are you helping people find and keep them on track and give them some sense of value and to keep from spiraling in, especially when it's wintertime and even you want to go outside, you can't do that sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, I do this life coaching. I also have a day job, and my day job is essential business where we have not stopped going to work. And so my life has been pretty much the same. And so, except, you know, seeing friends and hanging out and all that, of course, has changed. So I did a call with a group of friends, and we did it over a cup of coffee. And when I did that, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much I was missing that connection, and actually seeing people's faces, because I wear a mask all day and everybody I see has a mask on. So after I did that, I recognized what you're talking about. And so I started offering a free call. It's on the third Sunday of every month at 3 o'clock. For that reason, to offer people a time to connect, to talk about things that are going on. We always look for the silver lining. We talk about if it's over a cup of coffee. Coffee is optional, but we also talk about, once we have an opportunity to share our concerns, our issues, our challenges, then we end by talking about how our cup truly does overflow. You know, we have to look for those things because we always find what we're looking for. So if we look for the positive or the silver lining, but I feel, you know, I enjoy the coffee on Sunday afternoon, and I enjoy offering that to others who are looking for an outlet in these difficult times. Another thing that I've done, I used to work at the Women's Resource Center. And so I've been able to give back to them just through virtual sessions as well.
Any other questions? Well, Lucy, I want to thank you for coming to speak to our group. It was inspirational. I did write down some things, and it did help me to reflect on some things I need to work on. I have a coach too, so I know it's, you know, it's always good to get coached. You can always learn more. So
yeah,
I'm going to go. I pulled out the bell to close our meeting today. I was feeling nostalgic, so I'll go ahead and close our meeting, and we'll leave it open if people want to talk after. Everybody have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Lucy, thank you
Yes.
so much.